Welcome back to the Truth Over Comfort show. Today, I will be showing another clip of an official, actually a sitting government official in the British government, Liz Truss, who's obviously actually running for the premiership. Previously, we showed a clip of John Bolton, ex-national security advisor to Trump, admitting to being good at coup d'etats. This isn't the same as that, but it's another example of a government official giving the game away a bit. This time, she's actually been questioned at a parliamentary committee. There, it's like a 14-hour video. I think she's there just for a couple hours, and she's talking about different stuff they're doing in the Foreign Office, and a lot. She's talking about Russia, China, condemning them as authoritarian, and we need to. They're setting up this network of liberty, all these different countries. When we know the UK will work with no matter how bad the country is, as long as they play ball with the West. That's the main reason they don't really like Russia and China, because they're not playing ball, which we love. Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, which she is questioned on. So the guy, fair enough to him, I don't actually know his name. He actually, dares to ask the question, which in the media is rarely asked. When the prime minister is getting questioned by the media or interviews, they don't really ask these hard questions. If they do, it's very rare enough that people aren't that outraged by it. Just the fact, before where there's we want to end our reliance on Russian energy, not in the UK, but in Europe. And then same when Biden and Boris Johnson are going to Saudi Arabia to try and get an oil deal. So they won't work with the Russians because they've done this, war of aggression on Ukraine. But we're going to Saudi Arabia, who's done a war of aggression on Yemen for 7 years, for a lot longer. And it's funny. So Liz Truss actually gets asked this question, and it's the indefensible answer. She can't give an honest answer because they're a massive ally, and she'd probably end up having to apologize. But you can't really defend them because you'd have to sound like a 15th century maniac, to be honest. So they just kind of avoid it, but it's funny to watch her squirm. So as I said, she's questioned about Saudi Arabia. It's not just the war in Yemen, which we could do hours of videos on, and I hope to do one at some point and have someone on about it. But just the fact, it's a family dictatorship. Since about 1930s, we actually helped put the Ibn Saud family, which is where the name Saudi Arabia comes from, in power. I'm pretty sure it's one of the people we backed in World War One in Arabia, and you've got the whole deal there. But ever since, we've been massive allies. So it's not even like it's a recent, African country we've become allies with, and it's a dictator. Like we have a long history of Saudi Arabia going back to the beginning of Saudi Arabia's becoming a country. We've had arms sales over the years. But anyway, they're a family dictatorship, like many in the Gulf. So they talk about the Gulf Cooperation Council, which is all the different Gulf monarchies. You got, just family. It's the royal family of there, and they got no elections. There's a complete dictatorship. And they've just got all their family in different positions, because obviously, like, you can have multiple wives there. So it's like Bin Laden. He's one of 54 siblings. And someone like, oh, how many kids is mum had? No, obviously, a lot of wives, a lot of half brothers. So they're all in there. And then you got the public beheadings, which he actually gets questioned on. There's an endless list of just strange stuff. Obviously all the laws against adultery, gay people. I mean, people starting to get a bit more upset because of the Qatari World Cup. But anyway, I'm gonna go to the clip because it is pretty hilarious watching her actually get questioned. And the guy, he does not hold back when he's asking it. Like, his face, not this guy. Actually, I haven't seen the whole thing, but from the few clips, he doesn't say much. So it's only going to be a short few things. I'm going to show a few other things about Liz Truss, because the thing is, they know how the game is played. If she's going for prime minister, she definitely knows it as well. Like Saudi Arabia, it doesn't matter which government it is, they're always an ally, just like America. There's always a war. There's these policies that remain. And you got to be a bit of a hollow character. I mean, I'm sure she has beliefs and maybe even some genuine opinion on some of the stuff Saudi Arabia does. But that's all shelved to the side, because you've got to ignore that, because they're a massive ally, and or maybe they put it down as that's just, the way the world works in the Middle East, or they just don't care because they're playing the long game, the great game, against other nations, and you have to cooperate with certain ones, especially if they're resource rich and you want to have, favorable deals, and, you want to sell arms to them. Maybe they believe in those sort of imperial sort of games. I'm not sure, but you have to be a pretty hollow character to go out to a committee. You get asked this and you full well know all the stuff they've done and more and worse, and that you have no intention of improving it, and you're actually contributing to the situation by not doing that. And then you go home and you know all those things are there, so you have to be a hollow character. But anyway, let's watch the clip. It's probably going to start in about a minute, but previous to this, she's going on about Russia, China, and he brings that up. He says, oh, what about the Gulf monarchies? So just hang by for a minute, because I think it won't be till then. I'm just going to minimize myself.
All terms and conditions behind?
I can't give you an absolute answer to that.
Just a quick question about humanitarian aid. The UK government has promised 220 million to Ukraine and surrounding countries. Why has only 60 million so far been spent?
Well, we've allocated the full 220 million to organisations, but it gets spent over time. And I believe the latest figure is around 100 million. So those organisations, once they've been allocated the funding, then need to deploy that funding over time. So it's all of the 220 million has been allocated.
You said, you were talking about authoritarian regimes earlier, and you've said that the UK should be a robust counterweight to authoritarian regimes, and that we are ending our dependency on authoritarian regimes for energy. How would you describe the Gulf states?
I would describe the Gulf states as partners of the United Kingdom. We're currently negotiating a trade deal with the GCC. Now, is every country that we work with exactly in line with United Kingdom policy on everything? No, they're not, but they are important allies of the United Kingdom.
Hang on, Mohammed bin Salman, responsible for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, no? Yeah?
What I would say is that Saudi Arabia
is he responsible?
Is an important partner of the United Kingdom.
81 executions all on one day in Saudi Arabia, and you don't think that that's an authoritarian regime?
What I'm focused on is making sure that we are dealing with the major threats to the world. The number one threat we're dealing with at the moment is the threat from Russia. In order to do that, we need to make sure that we have alternative energy sources. And one of the key sources of energy is the Gulf region. We're not dealing in a perfect world. We're dealing in a world where we need to make difficult decisions. And I think it is right that we build that closer trading relationship with the Gulf states.
If a country is an authoritarian regime, it's fine to do business with it as long as the authoritarianism is only within its own borders. Is that right?
What we're facing with Russia is a regime that is actively seeking to invade sovereign nations and create a greater Russia, recreate the former Soviet Union. What we're seeing with China...
Yeah, but we went hand in cap to them for 12 years, and now wrong. We're doing the same with Saudi Arabia.
Well, I think that was wrong, the approach that was taken
to
Russia by the West. It was wrong.
In the Gulf trade document that you just published, you say the government will continue to hold those who violate human rights to account. How are you doing that in the Gulf states at the moment?
Well, these issues are raised regularly with the relevant ministers and leaders who we meet in the Gulf states. Our aim, I have personally, yes.
Well, your spokesman said that you hadn't. So what's the last human rights issue that you raised with a Gulf state leader?
I'd have to come back to the committee on the precise timing of that, but I certainly
anything.
have
Just
raised
tell us
it.
Anything that you've said on human rights.
Well, I certainly have raised it when I was in...
Go on, tell us one now.
I'm just trying to remember my most recent visit, but I can assure you I have raised it, and I will write to you with the details.
You can't remember a single human rights issue that you've raised with a Gulf state leader?
Well, I've raised particular issues when I've been in the Gulf about
name
human
one.
rights issues. Well, I'm not going to go into all the details of private conversations, which I will come back to you on in due course.
I'll name one. Next year.
Liam.
As you can hear there, he brought up the Jamal Khashoggi, who was the Washington Post journalist who was killed. Let me just get him up just to show you that. So, a Saudi Arabian journalist. Do you have anything to do with the Washington Post? Oh, yeah. Author and columnist for the Middle East Eye and the Washington Post, and he was murdered. Let's just read it. October 2018, Khashoggi entered the Saudi consulate in Istanbul to obtain documents related to his planned marriage, but never was seen leaving. Amid news reports, this is the Saudi embassy in Turkey, but never was seen leaving. Amid news reports claiming that he had been killed and dismembered inside, an inspection of the consulate by the Saudi and Turkish officials took place on October 15th. Initially, the Saudi government denied the death, but following shifts in explanations for Khashoggi's death, Saudi Arabia's Attorney General eventually said that the murder was premeditated. By November 2018, the CIA had concluded that Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, the Saudi prince, ordered Khashoggi's assassination. Controversy over the murders created tensions between the US and Saudi Arabia, including calls for the US to sever diplomatic ties. Obviously, they have not. So he brought up Jamal Khashoggi being murdered. He also brought up the 81 beheadings in one day, which we'll get to in a second. And then obviously he's asked about, have you brought up human rights abuses, and she just refuses to give an example. And he does keep going back, just any, not of recently, just any. And she does a nice little posh voice of I can give you that in writing, because she doesn't want to say, because either she probably hasn't, because behind the scene, that's you'd probably believe anytime they do condemn it, before they condemn it, they call them up or they send them saying, we're going to say this, but we're saying we're going to put pressure on you to the public face. But really, they probably send back, you can ignore it. And they probably even know that now. It's like when America probably, or us, condemn something Israel's done. I'm sure before they do, they give them a call and say, heads up, don't worry, we're not. This is just a front. Face saving, so we don't look like monsters. Just like she doesn't defend it, as in, oh no, we don't care about it. She just avoids it and said, but Russia's our focus. And in difficult situations, you got to work with these. But he's working with them before, so now you're deepening even more. You can even deepen it more. Like, we are aligned militarily, economically, every which way you can. There's no deepening of it there. So it's ridiculous, but fair play to that guy. I kind of want to know who it was actually said it. This clip has been gone all around on Twitter, which is where I found it. As much of the information now doesn't the mainstream media have reported on this? You do wonder, before the internet, would they have? They could have, this is on Parliament TV, by the way, I should have said the Foreign Affairs Committee. So it's government website. It's not, some clip, because the problem is sometimes on Twitter, clips get merged to make it sound like they said certain stuff. So you always want to find the proper source. And it took me a while, because on Twitter, as much as it's great, everyone shares it, and it actually makes the mainstream media report on it. Give me a link. It takes 2 seconds. You found it. Unless you've just shared it, passed it on, fair enough. I was looking in the comments. Luckily, Ben Norton, or he used to work at the Grey Zone with Max Blumenthal on Multipolista. I've probably butchered that. Did a video and a little article on it, and I found here he's got a link to it, which is great. Should always link it up. But yeah, you always wonder before the internet, this is getting shit. This is a 14-hour Parliament TV on Parliament TV. I didn't even know they had a website, I'll be honest. I know about C-SPAN and American hearings are all, but I think American definitely do have more hearings than us. Someone can comment if I'm completely wrong, because I'd like to find a few more rather than just like Hansard, which is like the parliamentary website for when they ask questions and answer it. You can get it all on there. But I didn't know they had Parliament TV. But before this, someone that had to find this. I don't know who, unless it did come from a mainstream article first, fair enough. But someone had to find this. I mean, this one starts at 11 hours and it's from that. But someone's watched it, got the clip of the video, sent it around, and it's everywhere. And now, you can't really ignore it. Before, that would have been pretty easy to ignore, to be honest, because it is I mean, we have newspapers in Britain that actually get funding from Saudi Arabia. I'd love to do a video just on that another time. This was just about a quick clip, so I don't want to overdo it. But that's just so. Again, if you want to see maybe another video, or just this is a small article talking about it. Again, this is Liz Truss Twitter. So if you can see the date here, actually, let's do this the other way around. So she talks about the trade deal deepening with the Gulf as well. So this is the United Nations website. UN rights chief decries mass execution of 81 people in Saudi Arabia. And I thought, well, I knew they still had stonings and beheadings, but I actually kind of just forgot. Because obviously America, in some states, they have capital punishment. This is a beheading. The UN human rights chief has condemned beheading of 81 people by Saudi Arabia during the course of a single day, charged with terrorism-related offences. It says a bit about unfair trials. Is it a possible war crime? So, they killed a lot of Shias. So it's the Gulf states are Sunni. I'm not going to go on here and try and argue between Sunni and Shia. You can look that up. I'm not well versed on that enough. I know it's to do with different belief of the Prophet after Muhammad, to do with his son-in-law. Look it up. I'm not going to go into that now. But yeah, again, could be a potential war crime. So all these sanctions and calls, because Russia doing these war crimes left and center, Saudi Arabia do this. There's arguments about capital punishment, but a beheading, that's pretty old school. That's medieval sort of stuff, really, isn't it? I wonder if you can go watch it. I don't know how they even find out about this. So they have to release a statement. But anyway, so this is on the 14th of March, 2022. UN chief decries mass execution of 81 people. Everyone sort of heard about it at the time. There's loads. They obviously still do their executions. Again, they have this stuff. I think they still have stoning and stuff just for homosexuality. Obviously, not the most liberal place in the world. Not really a holiday destination. And this is the 14th of March, 2022. And as Ben Norton pointed out in his article, I'll give him credit for that, 23rd of March, spoke to Saudi Arabia's Faisal bin Farhan. The UK is committed to working with international partners to call out Russia's egregious use of violence in Ukraine to support the humanitarian response. It is vital that the UN speaks with one voice. So here's Liz Truss and the Saudi counterpart, Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. Again, I think that means he's probably part of the family. And it's just so when he's there asking, when was the last time you brought up human rights abuses? You'd think maybe a week after they just did an execution of 81 people, in her call about Russia's egregious use of violence and beheading 81 people, pretty violent, about supporting the humanitarian response. Again, talking to the Saudis who just killed 81 people in one day a week before, and not even just lethal injection. At least America to have a lethal injection. The electric chair is pretty rough. Beheading, it's crazy. Not a peep about that in there, is it? I wonder if that's one of the times she said it. Oh, but her spokesperson said she hadn't. It must be hard to keep all these lies together. Surely you can stay on the same page. But Liz for leader. Nice little bit of almost alliteration there, but just a good example of, it don't matter. Do they care? Does she care? Does she lose sleep over the fact that I don't know. I think they're a lot more frank behind the scenes. They know, and they know it's economics mainly. We sell lots of arms to them. Again, for another video, but again, yeah, the big trade deal. And this is just a fun example for you of Liz Truss. So this is when she was Secretary of State for International Trade. There was a period where arms sales to Saudi Arabia were suspended because a court ruling deemed it basically it would be unlawful because there isn't enough checks, because there's been lots and lots and lots and lots of civilian deaths. There was the Saudi Arabian bombing that hit a school bus and killed 40 people, loads and loads and loads. So there's been campaign over the years. I will do a video on that soon. So after like a year and a half, maybe, they're like, oh, there was isolated incidents. It wasn't war crimes because they're not targeting civilian infrastructure. They resume it. This is a statement on the 7th of July. And then what happens on the 13th of July? I'm not saying they sold the arms like between this period, but since they said, oh, no, it's fine, this doesn't happen enough, or whatever, it's isolated incidents. On the 13th of July, 7 children and 2 women are killed and 4 civilians injured during an attack in Yemen. This is the United Nations again. You can download this. Everything is going to go in the links in the description. Office of the Resident Coordinator and Humanitarian Coordinator for Yemen. So I doubt, between those days they sold a weapon, they used it. It's not the point if they even, it was even our bomb. It's probably an American one. I think. Actually, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what company it was, but within days, she's done this. Okay, it's happened. This is 2020. This Parliament TV thing is 2022, 28th of June. So since she resumed arms sales, so she's made that decision. I'm sure she was told to make that decision. It's all good. Whatever. She did it. This all happens, and I'm sure I could have done countless examples, but this video is just about this clip. And she's still willing to say that there when she full well knows like the stuff they've done. But Saudi Arabia killing civilian, America do that as well, and they are our biggest ally. We've done that, so that's swept under the rug. But it's just an example of they know how bad Saudi Arabia is. They know full extent. Maybe they try and drown out to it, but she knows. And it's just great to see an official sort of just squirming. You can't have an answer. I don't know what I'd say. I think you'd say, I don't know. I wouldn't be an official in a UK government where I'd even be in a position to have to discuss that. Or definitely wouldn't be in a position as in, she's going for Prime Minister, so she's going to have to carry on these policies with Saudi Arabia. So she's full well on board with it and doesn't care. When's the next time she's going to get asked that? Probably quite a while. Uncomfortable for a bit, but then good life after that. So who knows? But I'm not going to overdo it and get too rambly. But yeah, as I said, you watch the clip, watch it again. He brings up the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, which was actually ordered by MBS according to the CIA, which is interesting. They've actually come out and said that. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes there. He brings up, obviously, the beheadings, the 81 in one day. And just, do you ever bring up human rights abuses? Clearly not, because with that couple of weeks after the beheadings, no mention of it, because they're our partner in condemning Russia. On that call apparently, but I'll leave it there. I don't want to overdo it. I'll put everything in this description, all the links. It's at about 11 hours 19 minutes where it starts. It only starts at 11 hours here, so it's actually not too far. It's all over. You could probably find a clip of it on YouTube, but I just wanted to use the actual government website to prove that it's not just a mashed up clip. Anyway, I'm going to post it on YouTube. I'm also going to post it on my website. I've actually done it up a bit. Well, my girlfriend actually did this, so I'd like to thank Zoe for that if you actually end up watching this. Little redacted logo going on here, because especially in Britain and America, but way more Britain, we have a seriously classified secrecy attitude in England. Like, you can't Freedom of Information Act, MI6, MI5, or GCHQ. At least in America, the CIA actually has a reading room of declassified documents. So you can find the stuff about Iran when, as I mentioned in another video, we overthrew them in 1953 together, MI6 and CIA. I don't see MI6 really commenting on that. We have a seriously secret thing, but even, you know, America, they always hide behind national security, and here, anytime, even like, oh, how many British trainers do we have in Saudi Arabia, blah, blah, blah. National security, we can't say that, whatever. But yeah, she did this. It's meant to be the redacted documents where even when they do a Freedom of Information Act and have to release it, they still cover up loads of words because apparently the public's, you know, too much of a child to see that. Oh no, it's not about national security. It's not because we're a child. It's because they want to hide dodgy stuff they've done. Like, the national security is the most ridiculous argument. It takes 10 minutes. It takes me 1 minute to have a conversation with you just to explain why would it be about national security? Oh yeah, you know, this government that, you know, we overthrew in the 50s, 60s, or whatever decade. Yeah, national security. Yeah, because you're covering your ass with the legal system. The legal system is protecting them from the dodgy stuff they did. We don't want to release these documents because it would be embarrassing to the British government. Yeah, and you probably have to pay a lot of compensation or, you know, try and get out of it. But anyway, going on a tangent. Yeah, the videos are all going up here. Check out my interview with Scott Halton. Was my first interview. Wasn't the best on my part, but if you like Scott Halton, you got to hear him talk for a whole lot of time, and you didn't get to hear some annoying newbie interviewer speak. So check that out. But if you just want to watch it on YouTube, that's fine. But I'm actually going to leave it there now. Thanks for tuning in to the Truth Over Comfort show, and I'm sure I'll have more stuff to come out soon on Saudi Arabia and our relationship with them, because there is a lot to unpack, and I missed a lot of stuff in this because I just wanted to keep it short. But thanks for watching.